Hi, and welcome to the crew. We are so excited to be bringing you this segment. We're here at the Torrington Historical Society for a great exhibit on a very, very important man in the history of Connecticut. His name is Venture Smith, and this exhibit is going to document his life from slavery to freedom to entrepreneurship. It's a very inspiring exhibit, and we hope that you stay tuned and check it out. We're going to be talking with Mark McCarran from the Torrington Historical Society, and also Chandler, who is the driving force behind this great exhibit. So you guys stay tuned, check it out, and we'll be back with more from the crew. Hello, we're back here at the Torrington Historical Society with Director Mark McCarran. Mark, how are you today?
Great, Jack. Good to see you.
Great. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak with us. We're here for this great exhibit, Venture Smith. And Mark, this exhibit, especially for Black History Month, is so apropos, and the life of Venture Smith is so engaging.
Yeah.
Tell our audience a little bit about it and give them some information on how they can come down and check this out.
Right. Well, the exhibit, although it's about the life of Venture Smith, it really gives us some insight into the African American experience here in America. But it's really a celebration of Venture and the amazing things that he was able to do in the time that he was here in the States. It was the colonies when he arrived. Let's just say America.
The old world, as it were.
He came here as a slave in 1739. And just to put it in perspective, that is a year before Torrington was incorporated as a town in the colony of Connecticut. So that's when Venture came, puts it in perspective. Over the next 26 years, he was a slave, he married, he had 3 children, and he was able to work on the side when he had a little bit of time off, save some money, and it took him 26 years to save enough money to buy his freedom. And it's just an amazing story. And then he worked full-time to buy freedom for his sons, his daughter, and his wife.
Now, you were just telling me about a story about Venture Smith, and it made me laugh because you'd think that their existence was so much, it was different in a lot of ways, but in some ways it's similar to what we go through today. Tell us about the story with the indentured Irishman that he was friends with.
I think the point here is, the people don't change, over time. I mean, there's always good people. There's always people that you can't trust so much, And Venture was one of the good people. He lived his whole life, based on the highest of standards, right? And one departure of that, perhaps, was when he ran away. Mm-hmm. He and 2 other slaves and an Irishman who was an indentured servant ran away from their master on Fisher's Island, and they went to Montauk. They stole a boat, which is not really like Venture to steal something. I think he was put up to it, talked into it, coerced by the Irishman. And so they went to Montauk Point, and they were going to go further down on Long Island and probably blend in with a Native American village that was further down on Long Island, and that way they would escape capture. So anyway, the Irishman takes off without Venture and his friends, and he's the only one who knows directions. So they track him down. Venture tracks him down, captures him, and they all go back to Fisher's Island and give themselves up. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. But it just exemplifies the similarities that we have today and that they had then, and making it happen. The struggles that you go through in life, and the exemplary thing about this particular exhibit is the fact that it shows how American exceptionalism was demonstrated by this gentleman.
Yeah, he was against all odds. He was able to buy his freedom, and then even more interesting, he became a successful businessman. He was a farmer, fisherman. He cut cordwood. I believe he worked in the stone quarries along the Connecticut River. I mean, he was a very enterprising man and provided for his family. It's just an amazing story.
Absolutely, it is. Chandler Saint does a great job of bringing to life venture in his in the conceptual form, and when you see his writings and we illustrate his writings, it's a greater demonstration of just how unique this guy was.
Right. This whole exhibit would have been impossible without Venture's autobiography pre-existing. So in 1798 he published his short 32-page autobiography, and this exhibit is based on the facts that he related in that autobiography. And a lot of his quotes, which are in the autobiography, appear here in the exhibit. So the exhibit is Venture Smith in his own words.
I love the way Chandler kind of showed how his words are considered among literary in literary circles to be exemplary, and the fact that his autobiography is heralded among many literary people gives it more credibility to what his life focus was and the challenges that he faced, and how authentic they were.
Yeah, I mean, when you read the language in the autobiography, I mean, it's wonderful. Of course, in that time period, language was everything. More so than, I have to say, more so than today. But yeah, he really he was a student. He learned how to account for his money. He learned how to speak well. And I'm not sure. I'm not a scholar on Venture, but I don't think he ever learned how to write. That's why he dictated his narrative. But he certainly does it eloquently. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Mark, we can't commend you enough on the great programs and activities you guys do here at the Torrington Historical Society, and we definitely want to make sure that you keep us in touch so that we can cover some more events that are going on here and we can share them with our viewing audience.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you as always. Thanks for coming down today.
You know it ain't a pleasure to see me.
Well, you make me work.
Yeah. Yeah, he runs the other direction when he sees me coming. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark McCarron, Director of the Torrington Historical Society. Thank you once again, Mark, for taking time out to speak with us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We'll be back with more on the crew. Hello, we're here at the Torrington Historical Society for an exhibit regarding the life and times of Venture Smith. This exhibit is being brought to us by Chandler Saint. Chandler, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us.
Thank you for coming.
Not a problem. This is a great autobiography, a great exhibit. Please tell our audience a little bit about Venture and how you became associated with this event.
Well, it's what's turned out after the Documenting Venture Smith project now has completed 10 years of research, starting with the narrative that Venture left us, this great piece of American literature in 1798. And it turns out that he's probably left more sites around the Atlantic world than any other African who took the Middle Passage to the Western Hemisphere. The project has involved people from Europe, Africa, the United States, and the Caribbean. And what we've learned is that Venture tells the story of the Atlantic world of British slavery, but at the same time, he's one of those unique human beings that excels beyond most people. And he did a couple things that are totally miraculous. I mean, he was enslaved. He bought his own freedom, worked hard, and then he went on to become very successful. And he did all this in a nonviolent way. And it puts him, the Africans consider in Ghana and where he left Africa, they consider him one of the great people like Mandela or a King or a Gandhi who overcame unbelievable oppression and in a nonviolent way succeeded and triumphed and creates and stands as a role model for his people.
Absolutely. It's a great story, and it embodies everything that American exceptionalism is pretty much all about.
Yeah, he was here at the same time Venture is achieving his freedom, the country's achieving his freedom. So you can say Venture's story is a universal story of the struggle for freedom. And he embraced the early republic, and it allowed him to succeed beyond his dreams. And near the end of his life, he left us this great narrative. He wanted to be immortal. He wanted to be remembered. And boy, he succeeded. His owners have disappeared into obscurity. And today we're here talking about the former slave.
Absolutely, we are. And what a pleasure it is to be able to cover this.
Personally, what I enjoy the most is being at the exhibit with school kids. Because that's who the whole project is about, is talking to the youth and using Venture to empower kids of all ethnic backgrounds and social backgrounds to succeed in this country.
So, in light of Black History Month, this also too is more of an American history story.
Yeah, it's a story that should be being told. Black History Month allows us to give a little extra focus, but this exhibit will go on and be in other places over the next couple of years, and it won't always be just Black History Month. And then in about 2 years, it will go to Washington, to the new African American Museum.
Chandler, thank you once again.
Thank you for coming.
We appreciate it. Your works and efforts are really really going a long way in educating us on a very vital part of our American history.
Yeah, Venture is a symbol for what obviously is America's great problem that we all have to look at, and we have to come to terms with, and we have to understand it. And Venture is somebody that can help us all.
Exactly. Thank you once again. We appreciate it. You guys stay tuned, and we'll be back with more from the Torrington Historical Society on the Crew.
Thank you.